Hey guys, today I wanted to take a look at the FiveThirtyEight forecast for the 2020 presidential election. Basically, yesterday, Joe Biden did announce that Kamala Harris would be his vice presidential nominee and his running mate. And so basically today, FiveThirtyEight decided to release their long-awaited forecast for the 2020 general election. And I think that FiveThirtyEight is definitely one of the best forecasters of elections. They release something like this every 4 years, and I think that they do a very good job at representing the data. And so today I'm just going to talk about this forecast that they've released for the 2020 election and then compare it to the one that they released for 2016, just to look at what differences we can see between 2016 and 2020. So basically this is basically a graphic showing all of their different scenarios. And down here, I think that something that's worth reading is just the fact that they acknowledge that Hillary Clinton led in the polls in 2016, but she had a very narrow lead. She was expected to win Florida, North Carolina, North Carolina, I don't think Ohio, but she was expected to win Florida, North Carolina, states like that, as well as all of the Rust Belt, but she didn't. But she was only leading by 2-3% in those states, so Donald Trump definitely could have been leading in those states in the polling if it was conducted differently. So it was within the margin of error for Donald Trump to win. So that's why we should not discredit polling, because although polling was skewed for Hillary Clinton in 2016, I think that all pollsters have taken into account the 2016 incidents, and I think they have all adjusted to fix that so that 2020 will be more accurate for Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And looking down here, they give Joe Biden a 71% chance of winning the election because there are many more scenarios. They have done 40,000 scenarios, and basically they plot out the most likely ones. And so the largest margin for Biden, this is never going to happen, with 513 electoral votes for Joe Biden. And the best scenario for Trump, they give Trump 383 electoral votes. So I can see many more better scenarios for Biden and many less better scenarios for President Trump. And looking at this chart here, basically this just shows all of the outcomes in a graph. Basically, this is the same graph except flipped over. So, Joe Biden many more numbers in favor of him than for President Trump. And so that another good sign for Joe Biden, and this is what they call the winding path victory, something they did in 2016 as well, and we will be talking about the 2016 forecast in a couple of minutes. And so looking at this snake graph here, basically this just shows which states are likely to go to whom, and basically there are more states for Biden and less states for Trump. And with the state of Wisconsin, of course, Joe Biden crosses the 270 electoral vote line, and he's also expected to win Florida and Arizona. So basically he is expected to flip the 2nd district of Nebraska, Arizona, Florida, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, while Donald Trump basically wins all his states from 2016 minus these 5 states. And basically I think this is a really good way of showing just how the election is going to go. Basically many more Biden states, and this just shows which states Biden can lose and still win the election. He can lose Florida and Arizona as well as the 2nd district of Nebraska and still win the election, while Donald Trump has to basically win Arizona, Florida, and Wisconsin as well as North Carolina to win the election. And if we actually look at these numbers more closely, you'll see that Florida, Wisconsin, and Arizona are much higher chances of victory for Joe Biden than, let's say, North Carolina, Ohio, and Georgia are for President Trump. Let's just look at Arizona, 55% for Joe Biden in the state of Arizona. If we look at North Carolina, the closest state that Trump is projected to win, 51% for Donald Trump. So much closer for Donald Trump than Joe Biden. Basically, they might be the same shade of red and blue, but definitely Biden has a higher chance of winning Arizona than Trump does of winning North Carolina. And Texas, I think, pretty interesting. Joe Biden might be leading in many of these polls, but they still give Donald Trump a 71% chance of winning. I honestly think it's more of a 60-40 for Trump and Biden, just because, I think polling data definitely is suggestive of who will win. And I think that if polling data is doing very well for Joe Biden, I think definitely a lot of Democratic voters in Texas will maybe think that there is a chance of the Democrats of flipping the state in 2020. And I think that they will come out for Joe Biden if that is going to occur. However, the state of Texas, I believe, does not allow mail-in voting at the moment. So, I think that is good for Trump. Honestly, Trump is very against mail-in ballots, and I just think that just because of that Donald Trump is more likely to win the state of Texas. And then looking back at the forecast, this basically shows how the forecast has changed over time. Basically, Joe Biden has a 71% chance of winning at the moment, while Donald Trump has a 29% chance. And when we look at the 2016 data, this is a very flat graph. Look at this. Basically, there has been a straight line. Look at this. 70% for Biden on June 1st, 71% for him on today. I am pre-recording this. I record all my videos one day before they come out, so it will be the 13th when this comes out, but basically it is the 12th right now. And so looking at this graph, basically pretty flat. When we look at 2016 right now, if we look at the 2016 graph, look at all of these bubbles. Like in August, there's been many changes already, but this is only really because of the DNC bump for Hillary Clinton. As you can see right here, the conventions for the GOP and the Democrats. And so even before that, there's been a lot of changes on the 2016 graph that we do not see in 2020. 2020, I think, is a much more stable. I think Joe Biden definitely has a much more stable lead over Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton had over him. And looking at the electoral votes projected for Biden and Trump, they project 323 electoral votes for Joe Biden and 215 for President Trump. And then looking at the popular vote, 53% for Biden, 46% for Trump. Definitely Joe Biden will win the popular vote, even if he loses the election. If Hillary Clinton can win the popular vote by 2.5%, almost 3 million votes, and only wins 232 electoral votes, Joe Biden can definitely win the popular vote. He's not going to lose the popular vote. And that is basically the end of the forecast for 2020. I forgot to look at the tipping points here. Basically, these are just basically what a tipping point is if, let's say, the state of Florida, 23% chance of it being the tipping point. If Joe Biden wins Florida, he will win the election. And if that really happens, Florida would be the tipping point, and then Pennsylvania, followed by Wisconsin and Minnesota. So at the moment, they think that Minnesota is more likely to go to Donald Trump than the state of Michigan, which I think is pretty interesting right now. And then basically these are all the states that are not going to be tipping points for 2020. But I think Florida, I think that is a very good indication of the election. I think Florida is polling in favor of Biden by 3-4%, and I think that Joe Biden will have that sort of electoral popular vote margin of victory over President Trump. He might lead by over 7-8 points, but I'm sure it's going to get closer on election night. And then just to take a closer look at the 2016 numbers, basically they give Hillary Clinton a 71% chance of winning, basically what Joe Biden has right now, and then Donald Trump a 28% chance of winning. But the only difference between 2020 and 2016, I think is very important, is that in 2016, yes, they did underestimate Donald Trump. They did heavily overestimate Hillary Clinton's chances of winning the election. And if we look down here at the polling numbers, she only had a 0.7% lead in the state of Florida. Biden leads by over 5%. 3.7% in Pennsylvania. Biden leads by over 7%. Basically, Biden outperforms Hillary Clinton in every single state on this list. Every single one of them, Joe Biden outperforms Hillary Clinton, and all he needs to win is 3 of these states. Not 3 of these states, but just 3 states that Hillary Clinton did not win in 2016, plus Hillary Clinton states from 2016. So if he wins Minnesota, Nevada, New Mexico, as well as the state of Virginia and Colorado, basically these are the states that Clinton won in 2016, as well as any 3 of these states, for 2020, he will win the election. And he's outperforming Hillary Clinton Hillary Clinton's numbers in every single state. Ohio, 1.9% for Trump. He won the state by over 8%, while Joe Biden currently has a lead in the state of Ohio, actually, but still expected to go to Donald Trump, but definitely much better for Biden than it was for Clinton. And that's basically it. I've compared the 2016 to the 2020 numbers, as well as looking at this. I think this is a very good forecast, and you should definitely check it out. Just search up FiveThirtyEight, click on it, and then there will be a banner at the very top. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk about the map. They actually do not have a map for this forecast for some reason, but I've made my own. Basically, this is their exact forecast. 319 electoral votes for Biden and Harris, and 219 for Trump and Pence. Basically, the states that Biden is expected to flip are the states of Arizona, Florida, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. these 5 states will give Joe Biden the election. However, I think that North Carolina is also a flip, as well as the state of Ohio, but Ohio much less likely than the other 5 states. And so if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel, as well as leaving a like below, as well as leaving a comment on your thoughts and some video suggestions you'd like to see in the future, and I will see you in the next video.